Yes, a desperate night for Scotland, and I think, Pat, as we come to you, the first thing to be absolutely clear about is that could well be Scotland out of the World Cup.
I would think that's most certainly Scotland out of the World Cup. Arthur was saying that it's a sensational surprise and all this sort of thing. I mean, I've been saying all the time that we don't know the Peruvians. All we've heard about is the press saying how old and how bad they are. My God almighty, if that's it, them old and bad.
You see, with Holland having beaten Iran 3-0 tonight, and Peru looking as good as that, and 2 qualifying, the odds have now got to swing towards Holland and Peru, presumably.
Of course.
Would you accept that?
I think they must be the favourites now, obviously, to qualify, Brian. But I think the thing that's against Scotland just now is that they play Iran on Wednesday rather than Holland. I think Peru have got the advantage of playing Holland first and then knowing exactly what they've got to do against Iran on Saturday.
Yes, a good point.
You know, that could be a disadvantage to Scotland.
Well, of course, the only possible chance Scotland have got is if they beat Iran handsomely and then beat Holland, which is not going to be an easy job next Sunday.
I think you're grovelling at straws a little bit then. I think, quite honestly, I don't care how biased a Scotsman can be, I think you've got to admit that the best team won.
Yes.
And the surprise, you know, they could have won by more. That's the amazing thing. Apart from the first 15 minutes, we haven't seen Scotland play.
But having said that, Kevin, they really didn't do themselves justice, the Scots, tonight.
No, I think that's fair comment. They can play much, much better than that. Yeah. But having said that, I think the opposition has took them a little bit by surprise. And I think, you know, I don't think Ally MacLeod's been and seen Peru play. I think I heard him in an interview maybe a couple of weeks ago saying that. Could be a mistake.
I think
they're not a bad side.
Yeah. I think, you know, you say Ally's taken a lot of credit for what Scotland has done, you know, and I think he must take a little bit of the other side of the coin for what's happened tonight, because we've sat here and watched the match, and midway through the second half, Scotland were really struggling. They were under so much pressure before Peru scored the goal, and we were sitting here, please God, bring somebody on in midfield, because we're struggling like hell. Yeah. And he brought them on when they'd scored the second goal. It's all over then, more or less.
Having said that though, Pat, you can't blame a manager when he picks his best team that he thinks he's got and they go out and play like that. I mean, I think only Kenny Burns and the keeper have done themselves justice in the whole team.
Let me say, Karen,
and the young fullback.
During the home internationals, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit funny. I thought, well, we've got the home internationals, 3 games, and we're playing Peru the first. That's 4 matches. I thought, well, he's got to get a settled side for the Peruvian match. And he chops, changes. It doesn't. It comes to the final game against England, which they lost. And I'm sure after that match, he didn't know what his team was going to be. He didn't know if Don Masson and Bruce Rioch were lacking. They proved tonight they were a little bit lacking. No harm to Don and Bruce.
I think it would have been important for Scotland if they'd have managed to squeeze in a game actually after the England game and probably before they went off to the Argentine, because I think it showed tonight that not having a settled side, it really caught up.
The extraordinary thing is, if you put the clock back about 9 months, people were raving about the Scottish midfield. There seem to be so many players good in midfield and so many options, and yet it's the midfield basically.
I still think it's a good midfield, Brian. I just don't think they ever got it together.
You said it's a good midfield. You were saying a minute ago you don't understand why Bruce Rioch's ever in the Scottish squad.
Well,
I agree with you, because I don't think he's good enough to be in the Scottish squad. You're saying, you know, he's not really.
Let's get it right. I didn't say that. I just said there's question marks. You could make a case for Gemmell. You could make a case. I thought Souness was the one to bring on, but I didn't say I don't think it should be in the Scottish side. I think that's a bit unfair. No, I never said that.
I didn't say you should. You said that you didn't think it was good enough.
Well, probably on tonight's performance, there was 1 or 2 didn't live up to what they're used to. You know, I think that's probably true there, and probably, as we said, we were screaming out for them to pull on the substitute before they even scored. But
we're talking about the midfield, but you know, I didn't see Willie Johnson go past anybody.
No, well, that was probably
Kenny was quiet, and Joe didn't get a chance, because if Willie's not going past anybody, like we said before the match, what is Joe going to do?
Yeah, I think that for me that was the most disappointing thing in the whole Scotland makeup.
What was that again, Andy?
Was Willie Johnson not getting past his man? He got past him, I think, twice in the second half.
And his crossing was terrible.
The 2 crosses he put over were shocking.
The best crosses come from the young fullback, who I thought had a great game. I tell you, he saved the bacon more than once. He's fast, he's quick.
But I think, Kevin, to be fair to a certain degree, if you and Andy were playing up front, even if you're a left winger with you, if you've not got a midfield that's giving you service, you'll be very you'll find it very hard to play, because it usually turns out if the midfield don't play, people are starting to say, well, the forwards haven't done anything, substitute a forward, when really it's the midfield that the ones that have got to create.
I would disagree with that. I think a winger is more important, I think, to a striker like Joe Jordan than the midfield.
Yeah, but he's got to be served, I think.
Oh yeah, but I think by the winger, I mean, if the winger is servicing him, then it doesn't really matter, I don't think, to Joe Jordan how his midfield are doing, I don't think.
Well, Peru, though, getting away from Scotland for a moment, I don't know, I mean, all right, they had deficiencies at the back and we accept that, but there were moments when they looked to me like Brazil 1970, balance and poise on the ball and marvellous little 1-2s.
I think they excited, didn't they? That's the thing. Terrific. I mean, I don't think we've been as excited about players.
And what about the goalkeeper, Crerard?
He was probably the man that turned the game for them, because that save from Joe Jordan.
That's the group table now. Holland and Peru at the top, each with 2 points. It's goal difference, of course, that puts Holland just that one goal above Peru, and equally it's goal difference that puts Scotland just that fraction above Iran. Not that that means very much, although if we can look at that and stay with that just for a moment, we've come to a little glimmer of hope for Scotland, haven't we, while that break was on? Scotland versus Iran and Holland versus Peru in midweek. And if Peru can beat Holland, is that what we were saying, Pat?
Yes, it was, Brian. If Peru can beat Holland,
which is feasible, and Scotland get a good victory against Iran in midweek, then suddenly Scotland might be
Saturday.
They need a good victory, Brian. When you look, they're already 5 goals behind Holland and 4 goals behind Peru. So you're looking for something like maybe 5 or 6, which is Holland couldn't do.
No. But I mean, having seen Peru tonight, you wouldn't put it beyond them to frighten Holland.
Peru looks as good as any of the teams that we've seen in the competition.
But having seen Scotland tonight, it wouldn't put them to get 5 past that, past Iran. Not on that form. So looking at it both ways, you would think they'd have a struggle to get 5.
All right, now if Scotland are to get those sort of goals against Iran, let's look at Scotland first and then Peru after it, looking ahead, that is. If Scotland are going to get that sort of performance together against Iran, what do you think Ally MacLeod has got to do?
I think that they've got to be more effective, really, in the midfield and up front especially, I think. They didn't show particularly anything, I don't expect for the first 15 minutes from the midfield. I think they were the most disappointing thing about the whole game.
Yes.
Was the lack of effectiveness.
Yes.
Apart from, as I say, the first quarter of an hour.
But with what he's got available now, Andy,
Yeah.
I
think Ian St John remarked about something about Bruce Rioch and Don Masson maybe having their last chance tonight, and possibly Ally MacLeod might start off against Iran with them on the bench. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think he's got to make changes, that's for sure. But I would hate to see him make too many. You know, if they get something more from midfield, maybe they can get Willie Johnson out wide, doing the sort of work that Jordan and Dalglish need. I don't think they need to make 4 or 5 changes.
No,
I think that's too many.
Yeah, it would be too many.
Your friend at the end has not gone to sleep, has he? He's so depressed, I must say.
No, I'm saying, you know, they're talking about if they don't make this change and that change. You know, he shook it up so much during the home international championships. As I said, Brian, he didn't get a settled team. If he'd have kept his team together, he might have found out his weaknesses prior to coming to South America.
Yeah.
To make changes now and think, well, it's too late.
But he can't surely play that side again.
I would think most certainly he wouldn't play that side again. I don't think Bruce and Don will play in the next match.
Yeah.
But the point is, he could have found that out in the second match against Wales, possibly.
But if he's looking for goals and he hasn't got Andy Gray there, which I think a lot of people will be regretting right now, but he's got Derek Johnston there.
I think he's got plenty of options. You know, I think he's got plenty of players that can score goals and are capable of doing them, Brian, if they get enough service and if the service is right. I don't think it's a case of not having goal scorers there. I think they've got plenty there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, Sandy says, I think the forwards he's got there are capable of scoring goals if they get the service.
I think when you play up there, everybody knows in the game that you rely on the service you get.
Oh, of course.
And really, the problems are in midfield. Without keep going on about it, that's where they start. And really, if the midfield had played well and they'd have still lost 3-1, then we could have said, look, you know, got to put question marks against the forwards. But they never had a chance. You don't. You live and die by the fellas who play behind you when you play up there.
But Louis, I went to Hampden, you know, when Scotland lost against England, and I said that, well, it doesn't make any difference, I said it, but most people come out there saying, well, Scotland have got a problem in midfield. Now we're saying the same thing tonight.
Yes. I've got to break in for just a moment because I gather we now can go live to Cordoba, where I think Arthur Montford is about ready to talk to the Scottish team manager, Ally MacLeod. And I think this might be a very interesting little interlude in our conversation to see what Ally's views are after this rather depressing and disappointing performance by Scotland, beaten 3-1 by Peru. So, Arthur Montford with Ally MacLeod.
Ally, disappointment is an obvious one, but I wonder if humiliation comes into your thoughts tonight, if you really felt humiliated tonight by the team's performance.
No, I just felt the team played very disappointing. You know, I felt tremendous sorry for the lads that worked tremendously hard, but and today nothing went right. You know, they got away to the dream start, played very well in the opening 15 minutes, rattled the ball in from a tremendous move, and then proceeded in the next 10 minutes to miss 2 or 3 chances, and then went very casual after that. Half time, G'd up again, came out, put the screw on, 2 tremendous saves by the goalie, missed the penalty, and then seemed to think, oh, it's not our day. There wasn't the normal Scottish fight and verve in the display. You know?
Did you feel, perhaps, looking back, that you left your substitutions perhaps rather too late?
No, I don't think. It's one of these things, you know, you can argue about substitutions for now to doomsday, you know. It's one of these things either for or against. No, I just think it was the team themselves. They were casual at the back. They were midfield, and they just didn't get together as a unit, you know, which they normally do. It's one of these things that happens in football.
What in fact were your tactics for tonight's game? Did you plan a blitz on them in the first 20 minutes?
No, we decided to go out and press them, you know, get on top and press them and try and go down the outside. We know about Willie's speed, but it just never worked the way that we'd talked and that, you know. What was happening, the midfield were finding that when they tackled, the back men were too far back and vice versa, you know. We just didn't move up and down as a unit. But this isn't really the place to go into, you know.
Did you feel perhaps that you, A, either slightly underrated them, or B, didn't perhaps do enough homework on them?
Oh no, I never underrated them and did our homework on them. You know, I think I've said all along that Peru were no easy meat, 1976 South American champions. But on today's game, we had the chance to win it. I mean, let's be fair, we were 1-0 up, and then we had the chance, shall we say, to go into 2-1 lead, and just one of these things that happens. You miss a penalty, nothing against Don for that.
What in fact happened there? Do you think that Don hit it too close to the keeper, or was it just another great save?
Well, I would like to see again, you know, whether the keeper moved before the ball was hit. But having said it, the keeper, you know, had a tremendous save. Now how can you criticise Don? It was his penalty that got us here to the World Cup anyway, you know.
Well, you've got the real mountain to climb now. You've got 4 points to get from 2 games, and that really is putting pressure on the line. How difficult is it going to be for you personally to lift the players after what is clearly a major disappointment for you?
Well, one thing, I don't think you can ever play as bad as you played today, you know, and having said that, this is what your job's all about, trying to lift them, you know. Basically, you have to lift yourself first and then the players, you know, but as I say, it's just one of these things, got to get down and work. Words don't get you anywhere. You've got to work hard and try and get there.
Final thought, perhaps team changes maybe for
It's early at the moment,
Wednesday?
you know, we just knew after the kick-off. That's, I think, for the players to know first.
And basically, finally, Ali, the crunch question of all, can Scotland still do it?
Well, that remains to be seen. We're going to do it the hard way if we do, you know. It's stupid to say we could do it after losing to Peru, but funny things happen in football, and we'll just have to soldier on and hope that we do get fight and verve back into the side, because that's what was missing today. Typical Scottish temperament was missing.
You're very down tonight, really, aren't you?
Oh yeah, you're naturally down after any defeat, but particularly when you know back home there's 5 million people who are wanting a good result, and we almost gave them it at one stage in the game and then didn't turn the screw on it. Very disappointing, and I know how all the lads feel. We all feel we've let everyone down at home, but let's hope that we can try and cheer them up in the next few days.
Let's hope so, Ali. Good luck for those next 2 games, and thank you for talking to us.
Pleasure.
Ally MacLeod, he says, we feel we've let everybody down at home, and certainly Scotland weren't at their best. One little thing before we go, I want to ask you, gentlemen, is how far now can Peru go in this World Cup?
Well, in that performance tonight, if they can improve slightly from it, possibly at the back, then there's no saying where they can go, because it's going forward. I don't think I've seen a better team so far going forward than them.
Some of the players have been absolutely magnificent.
I think, hopefully, they're going to go a long way, because they've got to win that group, and they've got to win all the 3 games. Then Scotland are in with a chance, because they got the game against Holland at the end. So we want them now to be the sensation of the tournament and go and win the group with ease.
Well, they've had a goalkeeper who's made the save of the tournament so far, and Kubilas, the guy who scored the goal of the tournament so far. And in fact, it's a dreadfully depressing night for Scotland, but it's been a good day overall for the World Cup. There's been some brilliant football played, and again, some good goals scored.
I think for the first time tonight, we've thrown up a couple of little heroes out the World Cup. All the other performances have been team performances, and you couldn't say he was better than him. But tonight we've got a keeper, a Latin keeper, who can come and punch and take crosses. Good.
Well, that's one little plus, but there are some terrible minuses as well, because it has been a desperate night for Scotland. They've lost their opening match to Peru by 3-1.